Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are doing well and welcome to my channel. As you know, the month of Zul-Hajjah has started, which plays a very important role in the history of Islam. We every sacrifice in the month of Zul-Hajj, and this sacrifice that we perform in the month of Zul-Hajj is from the Sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and has been running since that time. So let's go to the introduction of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam and the incident that happened. In Islam, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam is considered to be one of the greatest men in the history of humanity. Referred to as Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam in other monotheistic religions such as Christianity and Judaism, he is considered by many as the father of the prophets. It is to his lineage that some of the most prominent prophets mentioned to us in the Qur'an, the Bible, and the Torah belong. In the Islamic faith, this includes the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The story of his sacrifice has carried across millennia, and the example of his unwavering faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to inspire Muslims of each generation. As we approach another Eid-Ul-Azha, Muslims reflect on the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and its important message. And the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his sacrifice begins with his journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was born in Babylon, present-day Iraq. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam community practiced paganism and the worship of idols, and his father was a principal sculptor and crafter of idols. With little regard for the idols throughout his childhood, Ibrahim ﷺ eventually grew to disbelieve in the worship of the idols in his community entirely. He questioned how idols made from wood and stone, crafted by human beings like his father, could be the gods of the people, providing no benefit and no harm. Ibrahim ﷺ continued to reflect, observing the sky and the natural world around him. Eventually, he submitted in his heart to the Lord of the universe, who he had decided could be the only creator of this incredible world. This act of submission was the first of many that Ibrahim ﷺ would make with his newfound conviction in the one Lord of the universe. Inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to call the people to the truth in his community, Ibrahim ﷺ faced many tribulations as a result, including being thrown into a raging fire by his own father. Still, throughout all of these tests, Ibrahim ﷺ never wavered from his faith and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one God. After leaving the fire unscathed, many were amazed at the miracle but continued to doubt. Years later, Ibrahim ﷺ, who was established in his mission, and his family, who also faced trials of their own in the way of their devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, had a dream that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had instructed him to sacrifice his only son Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. Difficult as it was, Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam yet again submitted to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, recognizing this as a test of his faith in this phase of his prophethood. He asked Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam to travel with him to Mount Arafat to perform the sacrifice. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam told his son Ismail of his dream, and Ismail, who later became a prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, had an equal unwavering faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and submitted himself. Just as Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was about to perform the sacrifice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intervened, saying, "O Ibrahim, you have fulfilled the vision and now you will be rewarded." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a ram to Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam to be sacrificed instead of Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam sacrifice is something that Muslims remember every Eid-Ul-Azha during the holy month of Zul-Hajj, when Muslims from all over the world offer an animal, usually a goat, sheep, cow, or a camel, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By giving Qurbani, we follow the same footsteps of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam and remember his devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with an additional obligation to the poor. Performing the sacrifice for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires Muslim to reflect and approach the sacrifice with sincere intention like Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. According to the majority of the scholars, it is recommended to refrain from cutting the hair, nails or skin. And according to the Hanbali mazhab, it is obligatory before making the sacrifice in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. With this sacred act of sacrifice, Muslims reflect on the many significant messages of this story and beyond, including our duty to those who are struggling, the sanctity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation and the worlds around us. This is remember the millions of people across the globe who are struggling with poverty throughout the holy month of Zulhajj. Offer your sacrifice with Islamic Relief and other organizations like this to help feed families this Eid-Ul-Azha. Thanks for watching. Share this video to your friend